Happy Friday evening, college football fans. This is West Coast Sean here, and I'm going to go into some of the games that are coming up tomorrow. I didn't have enough time to delve into that like I would have wanted to in my previous video I made just a little bit earlier today about what it takes to know ball, what all of that involves, all of the different facets of football, college football, and why somebody like me would even claim to know ball and tell other people that they don't know ball whenever we're in a debate or an argument centered around college football. So with a focus just on, talking about the games that we're going to see tomorrow and what I think is going to happen just off of my knowledge of ball, I'll go through a handful of games and just tell you real quick what I think is going to happen. Obviously, I can't predict what players are going to do during the game or how coaches are going to decide to call a game. But given my background and knowledge in college football across all conferences, I think it's probably a good time to put my money where my mouth is and just tell you guys what I think is going to happen and why I think it's going to happen. So start off with UCLA at Indiana. I think that Indiana is going to definitely bulldoze UCLA. UCLA has a mobile quarterback, and that could definitely give that Indiana defense some problems. But seeing how they contained Altmaier and how they contained Dante Moore, I think that they're going to be bringing consistent pressure. I think they're going to hold the edges, and I think that their O-line is going to be able to give their QB Mendoza time to deliver the ball. Their running game's also really good, so I don't see UCLA's defense being able to stop the running game or have the players out wide to defend Surratt. There's Indiana is just, they're a freaking Swiss Army knife. They've got the ability and the skill at all the key positions to, be a threat in every phase of the game. So the line on that's like 26 and a half points right now. I'd say that's pretty good. I could see Indiana winning by more than 30, but there's also a world where I could see UCLA cutting that down to like a 2 touchdown game. If UCLA comes out and they fire on every cylinder and they're looking good and efficient and they're moving the chains, because scheming up a defense for that UCLA offense is pretty freaking impossible at this point in time, since everything is in a state of transition for them, and there isn't a whole lot of game tape for what Neuheisel, their OC, is going to be doing, and how to contain what they are capable of doing. It's going to be play by play, learning on the fly, coaching on the fly in that game. But the Indiana home crowd, they're going to be there. They're going to be juiced up. They know that this is a potential, slip up moment or trap game for them. And UCLA's, they got nothing to lose. So it's going to be one of those matchups of a really dominant team in Indiana playing against a team with decent talent and absolutely nothing to lose. So we'll see how that shakes out. I'm definitely giving Indiana the win in that game, and I think they're going to win by at least 2 touchdowns, if not closer to like 5 touchdowns. Next, let's go Ole Miss versus Oklahoma. Ole Miss is going up to Oklahoma to play Norman. I think that Ole Miss has the ability. They have the mobile quarterback in Chambliss. I think that they're going to be able to go out there and move the ball with some consistency. The OU defense is definitely going to be put to the test. They're a really good unit. That's definitely the better unit of OU's offensive defense right now. The defense is the thing that's kept them in games. But the defense hasn't been locked down, and they've shown the ability to let big plays happen. And you don't know exactly what Kiffin's going to throw at you. You just don't know. He might have been totally game planning this whole week and pulling out the special plays to go in there and shock Venables and see if he can react and he can respond. Venables is very, very ego. He's got an ego that's attached to his defense because he's the play caller for that defense as a head coach. So if the defense gets put in a bind, I could see things spiraling out for OU. If their defense keeps Ole Miss from being able to move the chains consistently, then that's going to give the OU offense a chance to go out there and try to get some yardage and hopefully get some points So I don't see that being a huge advantage to OU. In fact, I think Ole Miss kind of has the advantage right now with how well they played and having their quarterback be, the starter for them throughout the season. Well, at least throughout the last 4 games. And with Mateer coming off that injury and there just not being total cohesion there. I mean, if they're able to pressure him and they're able to make him think rather than just react and be in the zone, and that's going to be a long day for that OU offense. So I definitely think that Ole Miss is probably going to win that game. I wouldn't give Oklahoma a 5.5 point advantage in that game. If anything, I would say maybe a 1.5 point advantage, Oklahoma, just because they're at home and they've got a really good defense. But it's not all about defense. I mean, your defense can't be out there and be put to the test and stressed consistently if your offense isn't able to get some consistency and stay on the field and move the chains and get some points when they're supposed to be out there producing. So if Oklahoma can move the ball consistently, that's going to be a huge advantage to them because their defense usually shows up and plays well, and they just need the offense to hold up their end of it. Next game, let's go to South Florida, Memphis. Ooh, that's a tough one. Playing in Memphis. Memphis is they got a great home crowd. So South Florida, great coaching. I think South Florida is bitter that they lost the one game that they lost to Miami. It's a 6.5 point game right now. I could see Memphis winning this game. I could see Memphis definitely eliminating that spread and making it maybe a 1 point win, maybe a 2 point win if South Florida does win. I think they're really evenly matched and they both have some, good momentum, and they've definitely both performed up to a high standard for their programs up to this point. So it's going to be who wants it more. What defense is going to come out and make the plays? Turnovers are going to be the tail of the tape in that game. Let's go to Nebraska versus Northwestern. Northwestern's going to have to go to Nebraska. Nebraska, I mean, they're unstable right now. Raiola is not a great decision maker. He holds onto the ball too long, and he takes sacks and he gets hit. And the Northwestern defense is underrated, in my opinion. They have, a pretty stout defensive scheme and good enough athletes to play well. And Northwestern's been kind of like the Cinderella story of the Big Ten this year with how they have already, totally performed beyond what they were doing last year or the year before. Just, how they look, how they're meeting the competition and handling adversity inside games. It's very impressive. Did not expect this from Northwestern. We expected Nebraska to be, as good or better than they are at this point in the season. And I think Northwestern's got basically another case of nothing to lose. I mean, you go in there and lose, you were supposed to lose. If you go in to that stadium and you get the win, if your defense shows up, if you get some turnovers, if your offense, and Northwestern has a really stout and legit offensive line. It's one thing I noticed when they were playing against Oregon. I was like, man, these guys get pushed. They hold up. They're very good at protecting their QB. And it's a bunch of, 2-3 star guys, some 4-star guys sprinkled in there, but they play incredibly well. That coaching staff has gotten great development and performance out of their guys in just this last year. So kudos to them. It's going to be exciting to watch. I feel bad for Will Compton because I think this is going to be another loss for Nebraska. And it's going to be a lot of people from Nebraska really upset if they do lose, because you're not supposed to lose to a Northwestern, right? But Northwestern is 5-2 right now. And they're a team, man. They are a team in the true essence. They work together. They handle the losses. They don't get too low and they don't get too high. And I think that's the best mentality to have right now, where, there's so much drama going on in the Nebraska fan base and in the program right now with Matt Rule, potentially getting a different job, moving to another program. That doesn't help your program. That doesn't help your team. It doesn't help you stay focused. It doesn't help your energy and your emotional health. and stability. And it's one of those things that plays huge. I mean, anytime there's rumors that your head coach is, potentially going to leave your program, and for sure he's being headhunted by major programs that are considered to be a better job in college football, it's never helped the team whose coach is being sought. It's just one of those things that it creates doubt. It creates a lack of trust, because in modern football, college football, when a coach says he's not going to leave because he's loyal to a fan base, over 90% of the time, that's total bullshit, and they will leave. That's why a Dan Lanning move, not going to Alabama when that job was offered to him, was such a phenomenal freaking, landmark in college football, to just be like, whoa, one dude was offered a better job by all outward opinions. Alabama had so much more success in Oregon and actually has national championships that they've earned or got through default of corruption and cheating and being able to buy players when other teams weren't, but they still have the natties. The SEC isn't going to take those away. The NCAA isn't going to take those away. Otherwise, they already would have. So when Dan Lanning was just epically loyal to Oregon and said, no, dude, this is where I'm going to stay and this is the program I'm going to build, it was like, it was basically unseen before. It's like, you're not just going to try to take more money. You're not just going to go to a program that's perceived nationally as being better or more elite than the one you're at. Crazy. So, I think Northwestern's got the edge in that game, and I think that they'll probably win that game if they play decent and keep the turnover margin, to nil or to their advantage. Let's go to SMU Wake Forest. That's going to be a tough one too. Man, the ACC. Wake should be 5-2 right now. They're 4-2. They got totally screwed in the game against Georgia Tech, and so they have an extra L. I think that's still going to be something that they have as a chip on their shoulder throughout the rest of the season. Anytime you get screwed by refs and it's for the benefit of a team that's highly ranked, players do not let that go. Coaches do not let that go. That's just fuel for the fire. So if those coaches are able to keep their players focused and utilize that fuel, it's going to be a tough day for SMU, especially in Wake Forest. They're a very passionate fan base. Especially now that they're doing better. So SMU, you got a tough day ahead of you guys. You're favored by 3.5 points right now. I think Wake wins that game. I think if they do lose, it's going to be less. It'll be a field goal or less against SMU. Kansas State. Kansas State's at Kansas. It's a rivalry. You never know what's going to happen in a rivalry. You never know. Like, dudes just lose focus. Dudes get incredibly emotional. And, Kansas State has shown the ability to sink or to shy away from the pressure or to fold underneath or fold from pressure and in clutch big time moments in this season. So my thoughts are, Kansas is a 3.5 point favorite in that game. It's probably on point, if not closer to like a 6 point spread. Just with Kansas's, their turnovers, or Kansas State's turnovers this year, the inconsistency from their QB, who's a young athletic dude, but there's shit going on in his family when your dad and your brother are fighting each other in the parking lot of a Dublin football stadium after your game, after a tough loss. Shit, dude, you got more going on in your life than just school and football. So I think that Kansas is going to win that game. Let's go to Auburn, Arkansas. Arkansas is favored by 2.5 points. I love this. Auburn should be sitting at 5-2 right now because they're 3-4 and they got screwed by refs in 2 games, and the ref that screwed them lost his job this week. About time. I can't believe that the dude was allowed to continue reffing after what happened to Auburn versus Oklahoma. The most blatant cheating play that I can probably ever remember. A total unsportsmanlike play. Everybody knew, the coaches knew, the players knew that's totally illegal. You can't just fake a substitution and then go hang out by the sideline and run up for an uncontested touchdown catch. So I think that Auburn's probably gonna win. They're in Arkansas, but do not doubt the Auburn Tigers and just look at their record and think that they're gonna lose because they're on the road. They went into Oklahoma, they went into Norman, and they won that game without ref intervention, giving Oklahoma the actual win. So I don't like Auburn. I mean, I was at the national championship in 2010 versus Oregon, and I can't stand their program. I can't really stand their fans. But I do give credit where credit is due, and I respect, competition. So Auburn, I see you winning this game. As long as there's not 3 or 4 interceptions from Jackson Arnold, I think you're going to win that game. Let's go to Alabama, South Carolina. Alabama's favored by 11.5 points in South Carolina. Alabama's been clicking on offense, unless there's some major turnover issue for them, or their O-line just falls apart, which I don't see happening tomorrow in South Carolina. I don't see them just crumbling under pressure. I think that they have. I think that they have a bye after this week. A lot of people were saying, well, this is like a time where it's a letdown game or it's a trap game. Yeah, South Carolina is going to come with good juice and good energy, and know that if they beat Alabama, that's their season, made. That's their Super Bowl. If they can beat Alabama, then they've won already as a program in this season with how it's already gone and the inability to make the playoffs with the record that they're at now. So the next best thing is beating Bama. Everybody loves to beat Bama. If Simpson struggles, because he's looked great, he's looked really, really good and efficient, as good as almost anybody in the country after the FSU loss. Maybe he's due to have an off game. I mean, that shit happens, and it just takes one hard hit to kind of get you in your head and get you out of the zone, out of the flow of being a QB who's just dropping dimes and throwing darts. So if South Carolina is able to bring pressure, consistent pressure, and if they're able to actually hit Ty Simpson, then that definitely gives them the best chance that they have to hopefully creating a turnover, forcing a bad pass, or tipping a pass. I mean, those South Carolina defensive linemen are going to be throwing their hands up in every passing lane that they can. They better have their heads on swivels, and they better be aware and watching Simpson's eyes and just trying to, shut down those. Because if he's given time back there, if he's allowed to sit back and just pick his target, he's going to complete the pass. I mean, of course, Ryan Williams hasn't been playing great. He's not been up to anywhere near the elite status that he was as a true freshman last year. But the guy is very talented. And they've got 2 or 3 other guys to throw to who are definitely outperforming Williams this year. Bernard's one. And so, I mean, Bama's got the talent. Bama's got the coaching edge, but they have shown the ability to play down to the competitive level of competition that's like not a ranked team. So I think that it could be a very entertaining game. It just depends on South Carolina's defense and if they can come out and do stuff, because I think if their defense plays great or plays up to or beyond what we've seen as their potential so far this season, then that's going to give Lenore Sellers a lot of juice out there, and it's going to give him a lot of swag and confidence in being able to hang in there and take shots or evade the pressure, the pass rush, and everything that's coming at him. And drop dimes. The guy's very talented quarterback. He's insanely talented quarterback. So don't discount a guy that's got that type of skill. And, it might look like a easy money maker game to bet on. It's one that I wouldn't personally bet on. I just think that the SEC is incredibly hard to predict this year. It's a part of the mediocrity of the SEC, kind of balancing out the competitive level of that conference. And, the top tier of the SEC they're good. They're really good teams, but they're not the best teams in the country. So if you're not playing the best team in the country, as a team in the SEC who also has a talented roster, or at least legit athletes and a decent coaching staff, and you have the home field advantage, that's a recipe for winning. So still think Alabama's going to win that game, but again, it falls back to all the criteria that will either make it a win for Bama or make it a loss. I love those types of games. It's really entertaining to watch a guy like Ty Simpson pick apart a defense, and it's really fun to watch a defense try to just shake and rattle and smash a guy like Ty Simpson. I think it's going to be a lot of bashing out there, a lot of smash mouth style football, which Ryan Day isn't necessarily great at coaching, but he definitely knows how to scheme up offenses to take advantage of defenses. So could be a blowout, but I think it's going to be semi-close. Missouri versus Vanderbilt. Ooh, that's going to be a good one. Vanderbilt is at home. They've got Diego Pavia, that sweet baby boy, Diego. And I just think that Vandy's got the edge with the home crowd advantage. They're 2.5-point favorites in the game. Missouri is good, but they're not elite. They're not extra special. They don't have any guys that I'm like, oh, that guy is a X factor, besides our running back who's super bad at it. But I mean, if Vandy, stacks the box and they're able to contain Missouri's backs, it's going to be a really hard. They're going to force Missouri to go, to be two-dimensional. They're going to make them go to the air. They're going to make them prove that they can pass effectively down in and down out. And obviously, if the running game's going, then they're going to work the play action, and that helps to pass the game like none other. If the running game struggles, look for Vandy to get up, get an early lead, and maintain that lead. They have super smart coaches. They understand football in every single aspect. So I don't see, Vandy making huge mistakes and then crapping the game away at the very end of the game if it is close. I think Vandy will probably win by 8 points or more. So that's one that I feel fairly confident about, just having watched both of those programs this year and seeing who has that competitive juice in the edge, the actual energy edge. Because when you're talking about athletes and similar styles and similar competitive, I guess, skill sets, then it kind of comes down to the guys that they got more confidence, they got more energy, they got the ability to make plays that other guys wouldn't necessarily have the awareness or the intelligence or the capability to make, that end up actually resulting in big, advantages throughout a game. Because if it's a third down conversion and Diego scrambles and finds a guy that has to fight to get open, and he just sits down in a zone and he just finds him, it's like, dude, he's going to keep moving those chains. Diego's very, very skilled at the college level at finding open guys and getting the ball to them, and or just using his feet to make things happen and move the chains. So yeah, Vandy going to be winning that one, I think. BYU at Iowa State. Ooh. BYU, they're good. They're not elite in any phase of their football. I think that Iowa State is probably looking at this game like it's, their season maker or breaker at this point. And Iowa's definitely going to be bringing some serious juice to the game with their home crowd. Depends on the quarterback play. I mean, it's whatever quarterback has a better day is going to be the team that wins that. Iowa State is a 2.5-point favorite at this point in time. I think that's just about exactly where I would set that line in the spread if I were working in Vegas. So I think it's going to be a close game. I give the edge to Iowa State, not just because they're at home, but because Iowa State's already got 2 losses. So they don't have that, undefeated monkey on the shoulder trying to weighing them down and making them, have to expect perfection, play in, play out. So yeah, Iowa State. Illinois versus Washington. Illinois at Washington. I mean, it's very similar teams. this year, especially at this point in the season. Washington has the more mobile quarterback. He's a little bit smaller, obviously, than Altmaier, but he is an X factor. And having that home crowd, I mean, it's a crazy loud stadium. The fans, they know how to support their team at UW. So UW's favored by 3.5 points. Even though Illinois is ranked 23rd and Washington's not even technically ranked in the top 25, they're ranked 28th right now in the nation. UW is a better team than the national media and the AP voters give them credit for, and I think UW's going to win this game. Now, Altmaier could play a perfect game, and that could make a huge difference in this. But if it's just coming down to quarterback play, I honestly think that Washington's got the edge. I mean, Damon Williams he's a little guy, but he's a stud. And he can make plays, especially at home, especially when that crowd's screaming at Illinois. And I saw Illinois at Oregon last year, and they had serious problems with the noise levels. So I think that noise level is going to play into the crucial factors that are going to determine the game against Washington. So I give the edge to Washington. I would definitely say that Washington is a 3.5 point favorite plus probably two or 3 points. So 5.5 to 6.5 point favorite would be where I would have set that. So I'm going to give Washington winning by a touchdown or more. Let's go with Minnesota, Iowa. I don't think this is going to be a very entertaining game. I think there's going to be a lot of penalties, especially because Iowa Kinnick Stadium gets loud. They're a really good fan base, and they bring the noise and the energy. So expect some false starts. Iowa's offense is just garbage, though, man. I mean, just talk about the one-dimensional style teams. Yeah, they throw the ball, but I think their quarterback's also like their leading rusher in most games. He's, being a dual threat athlete is an advantage a lot of the time, but when you don't have the other athletes out there to be a supporting role, when you don't have an elite tight end or at least a capable tight end, when you don't have a legit slot receiver and or some serious wideouts, it's just too hard on a quarterback to try to make perfect throw after perfect throw and to not get sacked and or to, make sure he moves the chains when he needs to move the chains just using his feet. He has to have help in space. He has to be able to deliver the ball to guys and let them cook. And if he can't do that, which that Iowa team hasn't really shown an ability to score at will this year at all, even though they're better offensively this year than last, then I think that Minnesota definitely has a chance to pull a win out. Iowa's favored by 8.5 points. I would have made that like a 4.5 point advantage because I think Iowa could definitely win the game at home with seriously tough defense, especially if they win the turnover battle. But Minnesota kind of had a little bit of a nothing to lose point in their season two because they're 5-2, yeah, but they haven't played incredibly well. They don't have the media pressure like the other programs in the Big Ten do, but they get doubted constantly. So it's one of those things that if that program can take on the fuel and energy from the media and from the fan bases in the Big Ten, discounting them constantly and just use that as motivation to go out there and play their best and just say, fuck it, dude. Nobody thinks we can win in a Kinnick Stadium atmosphere, so let's go out there and let's just ball. That could definitely give Minnesota the edge and the ability to win that game. So I don't think an 8.5 point for Iowa spread is really good. Like I said, I would have made more like 4.5 points, but I'm definitely choosing Minnesota to cover the spread, if not win outright. And I'll do one more. Let's go with Texas at Mississippi State. Mississippi State, dong, 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 cowbelling it up. I mean, their defense has been playing really good this year, so I think that they'll pull out the win. And I think that Texas's O-line is just trash, obviously, as it is. And I see Arch getting hit a lot in this game, and I see another sub 50% completion percentage for him. So anyways, those are my picks. If you think I don't know ball or don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to holler or hit the chat, comment my stuff. If you do like what I'm saying, or you think that I'm kind of on point with my understanding and my perceptions of these teams and these games and these matchups, give me a follow. Wishing you all the best weekend. Hope your players all stay healthy. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you guys next week.